And if you're going to get online and tell everybody that the housing market is about to crash, then please show us your face, tell us your name, and give us the data so that we can hold you accountable for your doom porn in the years to come. How's it going, guys? My name is Christopher. I'm the owner of Halcyon Real Estate. We are affiliated with the Keller Williams Market Center in Salt Lake City, Utah. Today is June 30th, and this is the Numbers, the Nuance, where you come weekly in order to know exactly what Utah's housing market is looking like at any given time. Today, I look a little bit different, and the office looks a little bit different because we're turned just a little bit to the side because it's later in the day that I'm getting to this today, so my blinds are closed because the sun comes in right there. I don't want to be backlit or just like super bright on the one side of my face, so here we are looking just a little bit different, but that's okay. Let's get right into what our market looks like right now. All right, so this is technically the very last day of the second quarter of 2025, which means next week we will be looking at these trends of all the data that I look at. Every variable, we'll be looking at the trends from the first day of the second quarter to present, whatever present happens to be in the coming weeks. And this is the last day that we will look at all of the data for this year from the very beginning of the year, from the beginning of 2025. So when we look at the data from the very beginning of the year to now, we get an interesting perspective and we see a story being told that things have moved ever so slightly in favor of the buyers in Utah this year. Certainly compared to where we've been the last few years. Inventory has done nothing but go up all year from the beginning of the year. That means that buyers have more choices when they're out looking for what they want to buy. Average days on market, the amount of time it takes for homes to go under contract once they've been placed on the market, that hasn't come down to be too small. Buyers have a little more time on average to make their choice. So they've got more options, they got a little more time than they've had the last few years, certainly more time than they had in 2021 or before in the wild COVID years, the wild housing inflation that we had then. Average list price has come slightly down from the beginning of the year, which of course doesn't hurt. The number of price reductions happening weekly on homes that are already on the market listed has done nothing but trend strongly up from the beginning of this year. And of course, mortgage interest rates have come ever so slightly down. They certainly have not trended up, and they've done just a little bit better than trend perfectly flat from the beginning of the year. They've really hovered around 7%. They haven't gone much over it. Today, they're about as low as they've been all year. And honestly, guys, it has looked to me this year, it seemed to me at the very beginning of 2025 that there were a lot of buyers who jumped into the market because they could have bought homes in the previous few years as interest rates came up, and they were waiting for interest rates to come back down, and they were waiting for, if interest rates were going to be up, for house prices to come down, and neither of those things really happened. And so I think the year started with a bunch of buyers who were like, fine, we can feasibly buy a house and we're tired of waiting, let's jump in the market and buy a home. And I don't know who needs to hear this specifically, but there are some of you who watch these videos and comment on your excited anticipation of the housing market being about to crash. Guys, it's just not about to crash. The data isn't there. Our jobs economy is really strong, particularly in Utah. There are a few states with better economies than Utah, and our jobs market is just really strong. Inflation is getting closer and closer to where the Fed wants it, and the numbers just aren't there, guys. So please, if you are waiting for a crash, if you're waiting for, now there's a difference between waiting for the housing market to favor buyers a little more. I don't have a crystal ball, or if I do, it's real foggy, and I can't tell you for sure what's going to happen next quarter or the quarter after that. As long as interest rates don't plummet, that we will continue to have a high amount of inventory homes on market, and that will stop us from seeing housing inflation get out of control. That's been one of the best things about the interest rates being high the last few years, is that it allowed for our inventory to catch back up to where it ought to be. But if you're waiting for the housing market to crash, you need to know the data just is not there. And if you're going to get online and tell everybody that the housing market is about to crash, then please show us your face, tell us your name, and give us the data so that we can hold you accountable for your doom porn in the years to come. Let's check out the numbers. Here's where things are in the Utah housing market as of June 30th, 2025. Our current level of inventory is at 13,405. That is up from the prior week, still trending up. Last week's average days on market came to 58. That is up from the previous week, putting our average time on market close on 2 months now. But it's important to remember this is an average across the state, and we have a lot of rural areas and we have a lot of not rural areas, urban and suburban areas. Know that the average days on market market will be longer in the rural areas and less long in the urban and suburban areas. Around Salt Lake County, it's about 30 days on market for average. The prior week's average list price came to $664,681. That is up from the previous week, still continuing though with the slightest downtrend. But average sold price came to $656,388. And so the difference between average list and average sold price came again this week in the buyer's favor to the tune of $8,293. Last week, the number of homes sold in Utah came to 699. That is up significantly from the previous week. Still trending up, looking a little volatile the last couple of months, but still trending up. The number of homes currently under contract comes to 5,455. That's down from the previous week and looking like the uptrend may have peaked. Last week, the number of price reductions that happened on homes on the market came to 1,500 even. Down from the previous week, still a very strong trend up from the beginning of the year. Last week, the number of listing contracts that were either canceled, expired, or withdrawn came to 411. The good old 411 that is up from the previous week, trending pretty straight across that graph. And finally, right now our interest rates sit for a 30-year fixed rate conventional loan at about 6.67%. That's down 0.2 of a percentage point from last Monday, and we will take it gladly. And that is it for this week, friends. If you have any questions about how I come to these numbers or how I present them or what any of them mean, always feel free to hit me in the comments. I'm going to be happy to respond. If you or anybody you know is looking to move here in Utah, if you need to sell a home or if you want to buy a home in the coming months or for the rest of this year, I'm hoping that you're comfortable reaching out to me. I'm going to be happy to hear from you, and I consider it my job to make it as anxiety-free a process as possible. Nobody loves moving. It's one of our least favorite things to do, but we can at least button it up, make sure you know what's happening, make sure you know what to expect, make sure you always know what you're signing, and have somebody professional and experienced to manage the transaction for you. And of course, if you are the kind of person who wants to track this data, if you want to know what Utah's housing market is looking like, you will not find a better way. I don't care what you're reading or what else you're watching, you will not find a better way than to hit that subscribe and stay up on it with me from week to week. Thanks for watching this one, guys. We'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.